Testing, testing. Oh, can't see my brush. And we're live. Oh my god, my makeup looks more mm, girl. I need a better camera. Yup. Big bike. Big bike. There's two. I'm sure there's more. Yo, I'm so upset. Oh my god. Okay, um my makeup is showing up more like white and brown. Like uh who cares? Right? I care. Testing, testing, 1, 2, and 3. Can y'all hear me okay? Oop. Yep. Okay. Wonderful. Univision. Yes. Um I'm just waiting for the people to get here. So, oop, ignore that iron. Thanks. Yeah, no. I needed to release some gum from my mouth. Y'all, this is episode 9 of Beyond Clothes. 9 episodes. Oh, I'm weak. But we are on 9 episodes of Beyond Clothes. I think that's crazy. 9 weeks. 9 weeks, 9 episodes. You know, like a cat, 9 lives. Okay. While we wait for the people to come in, I'm going to go ahead and start. You know, we just going to go ahead and start. Cuz why not? Okay. If it was the 9th and I had 9 episodes, that would be cool. Thank you. Thank you. It's showing up, the eye look is showing up more like pale pink and brown, but I promise it's coral. It's the same. Yeah. It's the same color, but it's okay. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and get started. The people will come when the people want to come. Um Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the 9th episode of Beyond Clothes. Yay! Honestly, this is huge. Like next week we'll be on the 10th episodes, and just a quick announcement, all episodes of Beyond Clothes are now on YouTube. If you want to see episode 5 with our creative extraordinaire, an interstellar icon, Michael. You do have to subscribe to Substack. You know, can't get everything for free. We got to make a living over here, but yeah, it's only for paid subscribers, but go ahead and subscribe anyway. My blog is on there. Unfortunately, there were some difficulties retrieving episode 1 for Beyond Clothes. For some reason it didn't record. So if you want to check out who the speaker was, check out Nakaya's Instagram at N3 Styles, to check out some of her new collections that just dropped as well. So yeah, now let's get into the discussion of the writer, the paradigm, and the wardrobe. So we're gonna get real vulnerable and real open real quick. Okay. I just want to say this journey has not only been an honor, but it also has been a lot of work. I even before I started the show, I was so nervous about whether or not I should do this. And there were days like yesterday, even today. There was like a lot of days that I just didn't want to get out of bed. I didn't want to do my makeup, didn't want to do anything with this at all, really. And I just had to pick myself up and really keep going. Honestly, today I was planning for this segment, at least I was planning on talking about all these different things, and I think it's time to get a little real. So for those of you that don't know, I went to college and got my degree in fashion merchandising. And pursuing a career in fashion right now, especially as a fashion writer and eventually a magazine owner, um, is probably one of the most difficult things I've ever done. And I've done a lot of things. Because you tend to have a bunch of realizations. Like, for instance, um, like the biggest one is not wanting to fall in the trap of the algorithm, where you no longer create out of passion but out of fear of being left behind, because there's so many micro trends that are happening. What is the world talking about now? What is the world going to forget about tomorrow? you know I haven't quite done that yet, but I was close with a few blog posts that have gone unreleased. But I was able to catch myself, and the things I create, the pieces that I've written that are featured on my blog, are all a reflection of my brain and the way I think, the way my mind processes, and then especially my blog. It is a deeply romantic love. It is a deep romantic love letter to the fashion industry. And I don't think I could ever create in any other way than out of complete love for an industry that has at times shown me it's toxic, suffocating, and has discarded me in certain moments and had me questioning my identity. But has also shown me how rewarding it can be, after sticking through the hard times and working through them. And that being said, I've done a lot of work personally, physically, mentally, spiritually, to get here, and to even be able to speak on, oh, my broche. Um, but yeah, even to just get where I am today with the blog. It's been 9 weeks, y'all. Like, a lot of work, a lot of things. But yeah, that being said, I will be covering a few fashion event and creative events here in Washington, D.C. So please hang on tight, because Down Down says it's about to get a whole lot busier. Next next topic, we are going to talk about the paradigm. So I'm going to talk about this week's blog post that I posted on Monday, and just kind of the importance of fashion themes, or themes in fashion, and escapism through fashion. Um, on Monday, I released a blog called Banality at the Fore, and the title kind of speaks for itself. themed red carpet and avant-garde event looks haven't been delivering or giving what they need to give, in all honesty. In order to really get a feel for this conversation, honestly, I'm just gonna read my blog post for this portion. Don't worry, we're still getting into the wardrobe. We're still getting into the wardrobe part of everything. Just we need to get a little educatory, you know what I mean? So I'm gonna pull it up and we are going to do a live reading of Banality at the Four. Um, you can find this on Substack, substack.com. Look up Don Don Says. Yeah, that's all I can tell you. Okay. So we're gonna go ahead. Me and my many personalities, are going to be reading my blog post that I released on Monday, Banality at the Four, for the paradigm section of the conversation. So here we go. It starts with a quote from Diana Vreeland. Fashion must be the most intoxicating release from the banality of the world. If you don't know what banality means, it means the monotony, the boring, same old, same old. Just to kind of sum it all up, go on Webster's if you want the real definition. Anyways, we have been seeing the magic Law Roach has had on Zendaya's looks for the Spider-Man press tour. Every single outfit was perfectly curated and chosen to reflect not only her character MJ in the movie, but the overall theme Spider-Man. Seeing the intention and creativity poured into each look is honestly refreshing. This press tour also made me realize people don't follow themes for events anymore, or they do a piss poor job at executing them. I said what I said. As I have probably stated multiple times in my previous blogs, we are indeed in the era of personal branding. Everyone has a perfectly curated style and look that they typically choose not to stray away from. It just kind of seems like when a themed event comes around, like the Met Gala, the theme is typically thrown out of the window and only the person in the branding remains. Now, we about to get real shady, y'all. Now I'm asking all stylists, designers, fashion icons, and partakers of clothes to answer this question honestly. If you cannot portray a theme due to feeling creatively restricted, is this industry truly for you? Would this not be an opportunity for you to push your creative boundaries? Sister, I'm late, but I'm here. Hey, y'all. Hey, girl. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the party. We just got started. I'm reading Banality at the Four so that they can get a feel for the rest of the conversation. Moving on. Now I'm going to ask that again. Now I am asking all stylists, designers, fashion icons, and partakers of clothes to answer this question honestly. If you cannot portray a theme due to feeling creatively restricted, is this industry truly for you? Would this not be an opportunity for you to push your creative abilities to their extreme? I'll say this: if you have to over explain your creative processes, inspirations, or how you conveyed the theme, you either miss the mark or you're in the wrong room. There's nothing wrong with creating a personal image through fashion, but what is wrong is using said personal image as an excuse to remain mediocre. Now, let's get into the theme or to the history of themed events and how they've transformed through time. So the history of themes in fashion. First and foremost, we as the consumer need to remember to view fashion history through a sociological lens. There's a huge difference between themes and dress codes. Dress codes throughout history dictated gender roles, class distinction, and societal structures. Themes, however, are the artistic, conceptual, and creative backbone for stylists, designers, and runways globally. Now that I got that out the way, let's get into the history of themes and their eternal impact on fashion. Intentional themes first made their appearance in the year 1910, introduced by French designer Paul Perret. I'm not French, but okay. He introduced a fashion phenomenon known as Orientalism, which was the first intentional theme that was again featured in fashion. He pulled inspiration from different regional dress types, from North African and Middle Eastern kaftans, to the Japanese kimono and the Greek chiton. His goal was to free women from the constricting dress styles of times before. He then popularized the radical harem pantaloons in 1911, and then came the lampshade tunics in 1913. Um, Lampshade tunics and what do you call yeah, we still see a lot of those silhouettes today. Anyway, he became known as the king of fashion. Why? Well, if you haven't realized it yet, he directly and heavily influenced and inspired the flapper aesthetic of the 1920s. The next person we're going to talk about with who simultaneously you know, was around during the King of Fashion's reign. She's an English designer named Lady Duff Gordon, also known as Lucy Christina. She not only survived the sinking of the Titanic, but she invented what we know today as the runway fashion show. Of course, each runway was a different theme that aligned with her lingerie collections. And she too was responsible for freeing women from boring and restricting clothes from her time. She reinvented lingerie to make women feel good in their own bodies. She invented the first it girl in fashion. She became the first globally acclaimed fashion designer who licensed her work for international usage, and she heightened sensuality in women through clothes. Like the King of Fashion, this designer solidified herself in fashion as one of the most influential people in fashion history. Although she directly inspired the flapper movement, she later grew to resent the radical extremes of dress, as she believed herself to be ultra feminine and romantic, rather than bold, boyish, and athletic and free like the flappers. And we are talking about Lady Duff Gordon, aka Lucy Christina. Now, we're going to fast forward a few decades and talk about Christian Dior, one of the most important and influential couturiers of all time. Even his fashion house still around. He helped reclaim France's place as the fashion capital of the world with his 1947 collection New Look. Obviously, this was post-war fashion, so France, especially being an allyship with Nazi Germany at the time, they needed a completely new look. They needed a completely new identity from the horrors that, was World War II. With this inspired a completely new view for Christian Dior's collection New Look inspired a completely new view of how opulence and femininity are displayed in fashion. By the way, Happy Couture Fashion Week, everybody. Yes. Just had to put that out there. Anyway, every single one of his collections after he dropped New Look in 1947 had a completely new theme. This revolutionized designers to remain educated, literate, and just knowledgeable, period, to pull inspirations from different places for their collections. Now let's talk about the woman responsible for revolutionizing themed fashion events, galas, and shows, the mother of motifs, Diana Vreeland. May she forever rest in peace. Um, she is a fashion Hall of Fame icon. She was first handpicked by Harper's Bazaar, injecting personality into what was an otherwise boring, monotonous cycle of clothes. Her most famous quote was, "Never fear being vulgar, only boring." This quote catapulted the industry from just showing clothes to a mode of self expression and an outrageous display of fantasy. Her whimsy and eccentricity did not quite satisfy the Bazaar magazine crew, so she ended up moving into the fashion giant that we know today, Vogue. She became editor in chief in 1963, where she shook the industry to the point of no return. She brought all things youthful, eccentric, and unconventional to the fashion global stage. She brought unconventional beauties like Twiggy, Edie Sedgwick, and Verushka into the international limelight with her narrative driven aesthetics. And one of her most famously interpreted and recreated themed photo shoots being from her Youthquake era, Flower Power. If you're not familiar with what that is the photo shoot that Twiggy did where she has the flower around one of her eyes. That was from the flower power era of the 1960s hippie aesthetic. Anyway, although Diana's time at Vogue continues to be revered, it cost her. Literally. She was fired from Vogue magazine in 1971 to cut costs. But little did they know who would scoop her up for her most notable performance of all time. Her most notable and final act was her time serving at the costume of the Metropolitan Museum of Art. She worked as a creative specialty consultant up until her very last breath. She transformed the modest, quiet, and meek fundraising event into the opulent and most sought after event of the year, the Met Gala. Right? Crazy. Her first exhibition in 1973 was The World of Balenciaga. Her ability to produce thematic, spectacular events focused around designers and specific eras changed the industry forever. Her exhibitions were experiential, which means she created customized fragrances. She created she just immersed you into the experience, and to end into every single theme with ease. This drew in high society members and press in large quantities to experience what had never been done before. Diana was then forced to retire due to her declining health. And in 1983, the legend unfortunately passed on. But her immortal impact remains today. Some of the most notable icons in fashion, like Andre Leon Talley, yes, mentored directly under her, becoming a force never to be reckoned with. Now that you have the history of themed events and fashion lines, let's fast forward to today's modern era of fashion. Modern fashion has a lingering faux pas. Modern event themes like this year's Met Gala seem to have been becoming broader and broader to appease those who simply just put on clothes with a view. Red carpet and gala looks used to convey avant garde surrealism, and now the clothes seem too real, a literal, logical, everyday truth of how mediocre fashion has been these last few years. Those who cannot do shouldn't. At least that's what I think. Instead of wondering whether or not an outfit reflects an event's theme, stylists and attendees have become more focused on whether or not said outfit will go viral. So if virality is the goal, then clearly fashion is not. So why even attend? Corporate takeovers, fast fashion cycles, and the digitization of fashion is pushing us into an era of premium mediocrity. The algorithm driven wardrobe has led to data driven looks with forgetful mannequin faces and a sad portrayal of what fashion is supposed to be. Textile literacy is at an all time low, which means people behind the camera, they don't know the difference between what outfit is what. So something could be silk and something could be completely polyester nylon blend, a satin blend, and they would look the exact same, which forced designers to go with what looks good rather than what feels good and chasing basically an algorithm driven wardrobe. I'm not going to read the rest of the blog because you guys can go read it on Substack yourselves. But that just kind of gives you a little bit of the history and the importance of the theme. And now that we kind of got a little bit of that out the way, the paradigm is people just don't follow themed events anymore. And now that we're seeing the press tour for Spider-Man as well as the Odyssey, and seeing how well and intentional Law Roach has been with styling Zendaya for her different roles, we can genuinely see how mediocre and how mediocrity has been applauded on red carpets, fashion and socialite events from everywhere. In now, again, we're in the portion of the wardrobe. Anyway, Law Roach recently went to France from London, and purchased, well, the Schiaparelli gown for Zendaya's look for Athena for the movie The Odyssey, at least in the premiere. Now, no shade to the other girls, but Law, get your foot off their necks. Never, but let them breathe for a second. He has been piling on look after look after look and has not been giving us a break. At least with Zendaya. One of my favorite One of my favorite looks was the spider gown that she wore for Spider-Man, which was one of her last looks. And my favorite look was the Scaparelli gown that she did wear with the porcelain looking corset and the beaded crystalline skirt with the lighting underneath. Now, I don't think there is a stylist, and yes, I'm saying this, but I do not think that as far as celebrity stylists and or image architects, whether they are self-claimed or not, at least in mainstream fashion media that we've seen, I don't think we've ever seen anyone have as much passion, intentionality, and be as literally educated um as law. I mean, since Andre Leon Talley's time, may he rest in power. But Andre Leon Talley was one of the last greatest of the greats in the industry. Someone who poured his every single being in every single project that he touched, that he created, that he felt. That was just the reality of Andre Leon Talley. And so for Law Roach to embody those same principles, I think that we need to start applauding more stylists like Law himself. And he's not just a stylist; he's the image architect. He goes beyond what he beyond the clothes. I mean, hello. He gets to know you. He gets to know your likes, your dislikes, your absolute no's, your non-negotiables. He gets to know your boundaries. Which ones can I push versus which one are set in stone? You understand? And I think that this has really shown us truly um, just just how lackluster and how people do not try as hard. And I don't think that it is life isn't fair, so I'm not going to use the word fair. But I think that again, with the need for us to look at fashion history, styling history, even design history through a sociological lens, when it comes to event themes and fashion in real life, people are looking for escapism. I mean, if you are going to be wearing the same level of gown that is found on pret-a-porter that does not give couture, why are you attending this event? I don't want to the I don't want to relate to you personally. I don't want to feel like I'm dressing better than the people that are on this red carpet, that we are supposed to be sold this fantasy of escapism. Like Kiki Palmer said recently in an interview, people are tired of real life. Things are hard. We got bills to pay. Things are expensive. Eggs are $14. Come on, people. I don't want to be reminded of the struggles. I don't want to be reminded that of bring us the fantasy. Cause yes, bring us the fantasy, bring us the escapism, bring us the theatrical display of narcissism, bring us the alter egos, bring us and sell us back that fantasy that we once craved as a society. Fashion has gotten too real and too mediocre, and I'm not sorry to say it. If your personal brand is going to prevent you from being creatively and like just push your creative boundaries and show how different you are, I'm sorry, but you have a template, not a brand. Moment of silence. Yeah, girl. Like, yeah, girl. Because a lot of y'all got templates, not brands. I just, I, j- I just, I'm just saying. Um, anyway, like Diana Vreeland said herself, fashion must be the most intoxicating release from the banality of the world. And if fashion is constantly a constant reminder of the banality of the world, then it shows how. What does that give us? Movies are too real. Movies are talking about the struggle. Fashion looks like it's struggling. Sorry, but when you're featuring AI models inside of your magazines, I think it's time to question the creatives and not so much the people. And I think that it's time for us to hold certain, what are our personal standards? What are our standards of escapism? What do we look for when we want to be given a fantasy? What does fantasy mean to us? And to me, if you don't look like Ziggy Stardust on a Tuesday, I mean, what kind of fantasy are you giving? Anyway, Anyway, if we continue to reward banality and push it into the forefront, that is a direct reflection of how real the world is. And again, people always find joy in different forms of escapism. And in fashion, it is quite literally about the story, the type of story that you're telling through the garment. It is about the fantasy of the gown, the garment that is being portrayed. It's about the type of life that we could possibly live by wearing that dress after we wear that dress. It's not about the struggle that we got to before we bought the dress. No, when you are going to a gala, an event, or something, we don't want to hear about 5011 struggles that you went through to get your bangles. Wear the bangles and do the shake. That's that on that. Anyway, um, because if you don't speak Bengalese, you cannot be fluent in fantasy. Bengalese is the language of bangles. Hello. Why would I want to find escapism in someone who dresses like my neighbor? Leave it to pret-a-potoir. Hello, leave it to pret-a-potoir. A universal image is nice and all, but leave it to pret-a-potoir. Okay, bring couture back to the runway, and I'm talking about real couture. Happy Couture Fashion Week, everybody. Again, and I think that the fashion industry is starting to implode on itself. I think that there are many people who hold the same values that I spoke of, but there are also a lot of people and not enough institutions who are willing to take the big risks that it takes to get back out there and get creative, to take the financial risks, take the social risks. People are just afraid of taking risks nowadays, except for La Roche, except for Law. Yup. No pose. Ugh. Oh my god, it's been a day, y'all. It's been a day. Anyway, I think that we are definitely in the I think that we are definitely in the era where we're in the era where small creators are on the come up and they are climbing slowly but surely with patience. I promise there's going to be a lot more new faces, those who've lived a life, those who see different perspectives, and I'm talking about small creators as in those who have struggled, those who've lived, those who have different perspectives to offer the world. Those are the people that are going to truly take over the industry, and I think that it's time for these institutions to give these people a chance. Law was not welcomed in. I think that we need to be reminded um of these things, that Law was not welcomed into the fashion industry with open arms. He had to fight for his place and for his seat at the table. And now he is literally the image architect and one of the most revered stylists. He's going down in history as one of the most revered stylists of all time, right next to those that came before us, like Paul Pierre, Lady Duff Gordon, Diana Vreeland, and Andre Leon Talley himself. And I think that it's time that we start to look at the history behind us and remember that everyone is looking for the next, these institutions, they're looking for the next Vivian Westwood, but the next Vivian Westwood is struggling paycheck to paycheck, on the brink of homelessness. And I think that that's the reality, is that these creatives that do live a life, that do struggle, that are using their art form as a form of release and escapism, these are the people that are often getting overlooked. And I think that it's time that, we start to look at them. Anyways, let me get off my soapbox because that is all I have for tonight's episode of Beyond Clothes. I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone who tuned in tonight. I appreciate every single one of you for taking time out to watch me and to spend time with me on this lovely Wednesday afternoon. And I love talking about fashion for people who care about the deeper perspectives, and the history behind everything, because everything is tied to something. I have some great news. I will be outside here in DC. I'm going to be attending this event called the Pink Exchange. It is an all women's, this is not sponsored at all. I found it on Instagram and I'm really excited to go. It's called the Pink Exchange. It is an all women's thrift or for femmes, the girls, the gays, and the femme presenting then days. Okay. That's who it's for. But I'm going to this event, really excited, super excited to see what they have to offer and just the city in general. I'm really excited to see what DC has to offer in terms of fashion and creativity. And um I will also be attending DC Fashion Week this fall. So get ready because Dun Dun says it's time to hit the runway. Yes, we are growing. We are growing. And there's only up from here, y'all. Anyway, my name is Alexis, aka Dan Dan, and I say while you don't have to get off the internet, you do have to unfortunately get off this live. I know y'all love to hear me talk, but I've had enough. So let me take a sip of my water and say peace. Peace. Bye.